All right. So, hello there. I am Kelly Garrett, and I help mom entrepreneurs reclaim their passion and their purpose in life by helping them discover their, hidden emotions and breakthrough, and also by setting targets for 90 days. And we help each other use a proven framework to break through those 90 days and reach their goals. And so today I'm using a little bit of a new setup here. I'm kind of excited to use it because I'm really techie. I'm kind of a tech geek. So let's hope that everything looks good with the tech setup. So I wanted to talk today about how to use your emotions as your most powerful life tool. Because learning how to interpret your emotions and manage them is one of the most powerful things that you can do. Um, it helps you learn how to handle really difficult situations. And as long as, and that's not something that's easy for everybody to do. We have all kinds of things that contribute to our emotions and how we feel. And sometimes they just come out and we don't necessarily know why or how to best use them to our benefit. So I'm going to talk about that today. So mental health is something that I am really passionate about. So if you would help me, I want to help as many people as possible. So please like and share this video so that lots of people can see it. And hopefully we can start a movement together of powerful mom entrepreneurs who are pursuing their passion and their purpose in life, and they're able to do it with their full power. Because I know that all mom entrepreneurs, we want to be out there doing something meaningful. We want to be living our best lives possible. And sometimes it's not easy. It is definitely not easy. So, when we talk about emotions, a little background here. I am a very emotionally sensitive person, and I'm also very passionate. And so for me, emotions are easy. They come and they go, and they sometimes have the tendency to rule my life. And I've learned to be able to control emotions, much better, and to be able to make sure that my actions aren't always based on like spur of the moment emotions, which is hard for some people. I used to think that controlling your emotions, maybe growing up, some of us were taught, you have to learn how to control your emotions. You can't act out or things like that. I used to think that that wasn't true. Like, that you should just be able to feel your emotions. You shouldn't have to manage them because they're real. They're yours. Like, your emotions are 100% legitimate, and no one except for you should be able to tell you whether or not your emotions are real and whether they're valid, because they just are. Like, your emotions just are. They're not right or wrong. They just are. So you are always entitled to your emotions. And so I used to have a hard time with this idea that you can somehow control your emotions, or somehow you were able to do something to make your emotions less or more, because as someone who feels emotions very strongly, they just are. And I don't, sometimes you don't want to control them. Sometimes you feel very passionate about your emotions. And so it felt like when someone was saying, well, you have to be able to control your emotions, that was saying you have to not feel so much, or you have to feel less, or what you're feeling isn't valid. And that is just simply not true at all. Now, there is a difference between feeling your emotions and acting with your emotions. I mean, we all know that as adults. The flip side of being someone who feels emotions very strongly is someone who feels like they always have to be in control of their emotions. Like, if they show their emotions on the outside, that's losing control, and they don't want anyone to see that vulnerability. They don't want people to know what's really going on inside, because that's a really vulnerable position. And so they always want to be calm and collected no matter what is happening, which can tend to suppress your emotions. You tend to push them down and not acknowledge them, or give yourself stories and tell yourself that your emotions aren't valid, or there's some other thing, because you don't want those emotions to take control of you. Well, so what I've learned is that my passion and sensitivity, this idea of not controlling your emotions, that's only partially correct. It really is more about what you tell yourself about those emotions, the story that you have going on in your head in regards to those emotions that matters. That's what really matters. And it's how you use the emotions to relate to other people that matters the most. And that's what a lot of us have so much of a hard time with. The difficulty with these emotions is that, they're yours, they're no one else's. And what can happen is we can end up getting them confused. People have a hard time understanding us when we're trying to explain something and put it out there to a partner or a friend or our kids or whatever situation it is that you're in. It can cause a lot of conflict. You can end up getting hurt. You can end up feeling not validated and not understood because your emotions are internal. They're so real and raw to you, and you hopefully understand your emotions. Sometimes you don't understand your emotions, but that's what gets us in trouble, is that because they are so uniquely you, it can be hard for other people to understand them sometimes. And it can be hard for us to explain our emotions to other people so that everyone can come together on the same page and so that we can have a common thing that we're relating and talking about. So, another thing that can happen with suppression, if you don't process your emotions and you end up suppressing them, is that can cause nervous system dysfunction. And this is some actually really fascinating science. If you read up on your nervous system and how your emotions play a part in your nervous system, and the dysfunction that can happen when you suppress your emotions and when you don't properly process them. It's all very fascinating science. And I'm just beginning a journey of learning more about the science behind it. I am not a medical doctor. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not any of those things. But there are some very deep things that can happen in your subconscious that cause your nervous system to backfire or to not work properly. And that can lead to chronic illness. It can lead to all kinds of things that can cause problems in your life. And you don't even realize that the core of this problem is actually an emotion that is not properly processed. So I don't know if any of this sounds familiar to you, if you ever experience things, if you are a woman and you're watching this, if you're a passionate woman, chances are you probably do, relate to emotions being very strong. That's one of, I like to think of it as a superpower that women have. Men don't feel their emotions quite the same way that we do, and they process them much differently. So being able to use your emotions and first of all, acknowledge them and understand what they mean, and to be able to take them and process them correctly, then you can take them and use them to help a situation, to help relate to other people, and to help reduce the conflict that you have in life. So a lot of times, where this comes out is with spouses. I'm just going to use that as an example because that I think is common for a lot of us, spouses or in a relationship. We have this thing that happens and we build up all this feeling inside, and sometimes we haven't been able to express things correctly, and inside you're just it's brewing, and you've got an emotion. It just builds and builds and builds, and then it comes out, and there's this expectation that perhaps you've built up in your mind. Well, think about all that time that you've spent brewing on that emotion. Your spouse or your partner is completely unaware of it. Like they probably don't know, because what we tend to do is we tend to suppress, we tend to just hide it while we process a little bit, and they don't really know that that's going on. We're really good at hiding things. We're really good at like multitasking, and sometimes we might not even know ourselves that there's this emotion brewing up inside. And then all of a sudden it comes out. Like all of a sudden we run into a situation where we collide with a partner for whatever reason, and this emotion comes out and we just have at it. We just let it explode. And that's what can lead to so much damage in relationships. And over time, we can establish these patterns in our relationships that, they often cause us to build up those emotions, then release them and burst. Or if we don't burst, we just build up resentment that builds over time. And slowly it can just deteriorate the relationship. So instead of letting that happen, there is a much better way to process your emotions and use them to like heal yourself. Things that have built up over time. You can get a lot of healing once you start to uncover the different layers of emotions that are there, and it also helps you to interact in your relationships in a better way. That it can help you understand yourself better, and it also can help you be understood and build connection once you're able to really take this deep dive into your emotions and to fully understand them, so that you can use them more effectively. So how do you do this, right? Well, let's take a look at a scenario. This is, just a little scenario here. Let's talk about your husband maybe didn't load the dishwasher when you asked him to. Now, I'm not going to say that has never happened in my house. It is, for now, it's a fictitious scenario. Our dishwasher is happily loaded at the moment, but there's certainly things that are similar that have happened. And so let me pull up here. I'm just going to get a little notepad to scribble on, do some illustration for you. So let's say you asked your husband to load the dishwasher. It didn't happen. You come home, you see it, and for whatever reason, you're just raging mad and you just explode. You just, get so upset, and explode. Here's what you're going to do. Instead of exploding on your husband, you're going to run away into your room. You're going to lock the door, pull out a piece of paper, pull out your laptop or your phone, whatever, something that you can jot stuff down, and you're going to just let it all out. You're going to, I like to call this, and mentors of mine have also called this, release the rage. So what you want to do is you just want to get out a piece of paper, a journal, your computer, whatever, and just let it all out. Just everything, every angry thought that's on your mind, just release it. Just, I can't believe he couldn't wash the dishwasher. That was so inconsiderate of him. Like, why couldn't he load it? It was his turn. He promised me he would, and he's so stupid. Men can never get anything right. And I apologize to any men that are watching. I am not saying that is true. But what I am saying is that these are the thoughts that women can have in their heads when something like this happens. And what I want to show you is that there's something deeper there. So don't anyone be offended by that. This is a time when you are releasing the rage. This is the time to write this down and just get it all out. No judgment. This is not something you're going to show them. This is never show your spouse or whoever you're writing this release the rage about. Never show it to anybody. This is just for you only. This is a tool for you to get all of that emotion out, because that is the first part of being able to better understand them. Is you have to get that out of your body, because it builds this tension and this energy in your body that you have to be able to release. So as you're releasing these, you also have to understand that there are things called primary and secondary emotions. And let's just look at anger, for example. Anger is a secondary emotion. And what that means is that it's kind of a surface level emotion that you feel as a result of deeper emotions. And a lot of times your primary emotions, the ones that are deeper under the surface, sometimes you may not even know that you're feeling those emotions. You might not realize it. And the only thing that comes out is anger. That's kind of a more primal, thing that comes out. You just feel anger. And you may have heard of this tool called the Anger Iceberg. And so what this is showing is that anger is actually this secondary feeling that comes up. And there's actually a whole bunch of feelings underneath it. This is a chart from the Gottman Institute. The Gottman Institute is about relationship support. It's a really great resource if you ever want to read more about relationships and relating to your spouse or partner. And so if we look at anger as the the secondary emotion that sits on top of the water here, it's this iceberg. You can always peel back and find out that there are more underneath. There's more emotions underneath. So whenever someone approaches me angry, whenever I go to the grocery store and run into someone who's angry, whenever, my kids come home from school and they're angry, I know that there's always some emotion behind it that's underneath. And so I try to have patience with that. And I try to say, okay, take a step back. What is it under there? Like, what's underneath that? So as you're doing the release the anger, release the rage exercise, always be sure to look for the the primary emotion. We'll see how well this writing on the screen works. Obviously, it's not picking up everything I'm writing, but so you always want to look for the primary emotion that's happening underneath it, and keep trying to dig as deep as you can. So that's the first step, releasing the rage. Now, like I said, you're not going to show that to anybody. Put that somewhere safe. Destroy it if you want to. Put it away in a journal that nobody looks at. Put it in a file on your computer that nobody's going to open up. That is just for you. That's just a tool for you to process and get your anger and frustration out. Then after you do that, you're going to look at the facts of the situation. So now that you have released the rage, what that does is it allows your nervous system to calm down a bit. So we have this thing called fight or flight. And what that is when you have these secondary emotions like anger or anxiety or things that, that cause your nervous system to go into fight or flight mode, it basically shuts down and it protects you. The idea of fight or flight is to protect you from danger. That was the original design of the fight or flight response in your body. And the problem is that system has not adapted to modern times. So these instances, situations that occur today in modern times are, your body just doesn't react the way we hope that they would. It's still acting in a very primal way of fight or flight. So by releasing the rage, what you have done is you've been able to calm your nervous system. And now you will be able to step back. That doesn't mean that your feelings are gone. That doesn't mean that they're invalid. That doesn't mean that you've processed them and you've moved on. They're still there. They can still be there. But what you're doing is you're just allowing your nervous system to be calm. And so now you can use the executive function of your brain, which is the prefrontal cortex area in the front of your brain. You can use that to calmly look at the facts of the situation. Because remember that your emotions live inside you and you only. So they're not going to make sense to someone else. Someone else isn't going to feel the same emotions that you feel. They're not going to process things the same way that you do. So sometimes for us to just go in with our emotions, this is how I feel and this is why you need to listen to me and all this, like sometimes that's not going to be very effective because the other person is coming from a totally different place. And if we come together with that person based on facts and not emotion, then we can have a much easier time relating and understanding each other. So what you do then is you start writing down the facts of the situation. So in this instance, the dishwasher was full or was empty. There were dirty dishes. You had a busy day. And at this point, you might start trying to go to emotions. Well, I had a busy day. It was so stressful. Don't go there. Like, try not to go there, because that was what we did back up here. We were releasing the rage. Make sure you focus on the facts and stick to the facts only. Once you're doing this, maybe you might remember, I maybe wasn't clear. Like, maybe I didn't say exactly what I wanted done. Maybe I thought it in my head, or maybe I wasn't clear, and maybe he had a busy day. You're writing down all these facts. So you can start to see here that as you're writing down your facts, you can look and start to say, oh, okay, maybe this wasn't about me. Maybe it had nothing to do with me. Maybe he had a busy day and he was feeling stressed out, and he really wanted to do the dishes. He really wanted to help, but he just had no energy. And so maybe I can cut him a little bit of slack. The other thing that, that you might encounter in some of the facts too is, and this is a little bit tricky because this kind of goes back to these primary emotions. Sometimes you might realize that, really all that did was it just made me feel unloved. And maybe it made me feel rejected because I had asked him to do something and he didn't do it. Maybe it made me feel not cared for. A lot of that should come out. That probably won't come out when you're releasing the rage, but it will probably come out after you looked at the facts, and you can kind of start to piece together, like, okay, I guess that really this is a two-way street here, that relationships take effort and communication with two people. The other thing that is an important tool to do is something called a turnaround. And there's a book about this, and I will try to put the book in the comments, a link to the book in the comments, about this idea of turning around your thoughts. Because usually a lot of times, think about what you will tell your kids if they're experiencing like a bully. And that is that you'll tell them, hey, a bully, usually someone who bullies you they're feeling bad about themselves. So that's why they're bullying you. That's a perfect example of this idea of a turnaround. If someone says, you're not able to swing on the monkey bars, that kid is probably not feeling good about themselves. And they might be thinking, well, I can't go on the monkey bars that well. So what you can do a lot of times is some of the things that you want to accuse other people of, or some of the things that you want to throw and lash out at other people of, if you turn that around to yourself, maybe you say, you don't care about me. You didn't do the dishes. You don't care about me. Maybe what you're actually saying is, I don't care about me. Maybe there's something in your life that you have a hard time carrying out about for yourself. And that is, that goes really deep. And there's, like I said, there's an entire book that Katie, I can't think of her name right now. I'll put it in the comments because it's a great book. It's a great book to read if you want to learn more about that. Okay, so I'm getting on a little tangent. So if we go back to this step 3 is going to be to ask yourself what's important. And this is really, really the part where you can make the most progress. If you step yourself back, now that you've released your rage, you've looked at the facts, your nervous system is a little bit more calm, you've maybe explored some of those deeper, feelings. Sometimes you can discover that there is some past trauma in there. A lot of times we have things that relate back to our childhood, and that trauma can come up in everyday situations. And the more you get into this and the more you do it, these types of things will come up super fast. Like you will all of a sudden you'll get mad about the dishes, and all of a sudden you go, oh, you know what? That's just me feeling abandoned when I was a child. Like it happens very quickly once you make those pathways in your brain. So asking yourself what's important in this situation, is it the dishes? Is it really the dishes that was the big deal? Or is there something deeper? Maybe you just wanted a clean space. Maybe you feel like your space around you needs to be clean and it's not, and therefore it's a bad environment and it's hard for you to focus. It's hard for you to be in a good mood. Maybe it's one of these trauma things here that we've talked about, that maybe you realize that you have a trauma from being a child, of being abandoned, or have feelings of being unloved and rejected. And that comes up for you when this person that is supposed to be caring for you and is supposed to be loving you doesn't do something that makes you feel loved. So that's important to remember when the what's important. So you really want to identify, like, what's the goal here? Like, what is the primary goal? And, if it's the situation with dishes, the goal is, how can we make sure that this doesn't happen? How can we make sure that this doesn't set me off in the future? How can we make sure that if he is stressed out and had a bad day, that he can tell you, so that you don't come home and have this expectation that the dishes were done and you won't be disappointed? Does he even know how you feel? Does he even know some of these deeper traumas that might be in here and these deeper primary emotions that are in here? He might not know about some of those. So maybe that means you have to sit down and talk about that with him. And so just think about, how do you want to approach the situation? Most of the times we don't want to approach a situation like our core person, our core being does not want to approach the situation with anger. Like nobody wants to go blow up at their husband. But so sometimes you just have to get to the root of how you really want to approach the situation in the first place. Maybe it's probably with love. Most of us want to approach our relationships and come to things in our relationships with love. And also ask yourself, how can you both walk away from this situation feeling loved? So once you focus on what's important, it makes it a lot easier after you've processed everything else. So then after you've identified what your goal is and what's important in the situation, then the final thing is to say, what are we going to do? What action are you going to take? And is that action going to be towards the situation? Or is that action going to be towards the solution? And what I mean by those is that action, is it about the dishes? Well, if it's really about the dishes, or if there's something that you notice in your dishes routine that comes out of this that is just a misunderstanding, maybe your husband didn't know you wanted it done by 6:00 and he was waiting until 7. And out of this, you discover that, then the action towards the situation is just that now he knows to do the dishes by 6:00. Now he knows. And you say that, he says, oh gosh, I didn't realize that. Now from now on, I know I'm going to do the dishes at 6:00. You say, okay, great. Thanks. We're done. Or if the action is something you're doing to take towards the solution, maybe it's that you need to discuss when things change. Maybe there's a more universal problem here, that maybe this is going to happen in other places, not just the dishes. So now we know that, if something changes, we need to talk about it. If you were planning on something and you had a busy day and you realized you couldn't do it, just send me a quick text that says, hey, I can't get to the dishes before you get home. Sorry, just wanted you to know. And then you, for yourself, being as the wife, need to say, okay, that's when he does that, instead of getting mad at him, what you have to do is say, okay, that's what we decided. I'm glad that he took the time to send me a text message and tell me that he couldn't get to it. I can forgive him because I'm a loving human being. We all are at the core of it. And so therefore I'm not going to go get, raged when I get home. So just come up with your action plan is really what it boils down to. So that is a very simple overview of just some simple steps that you can take. And you can even practice this together. My husband and I do this exercise together all the time, and it is very, very helpful. What you do is you each sit down and you write out your feelings. Now, you release the rage depending on how strong those feelings are. You might have to go off by yourself and take some time to do that. Or if you feel like it's manageable and it's something that you can calmly discuss already, you can just use one word to describe your feelings. So I was angry. We already know that angry is a secondary emotion. So we want to try and dig deeper than that. Usually I don't like to just leave something at angry. I like to go deeper than that. So angry. I felt ignored. I felt unloved, et cetera, et cetera. So you can just write down a one word response there. So you can do that together. You can do that individually and then talk about your answers together. And this is also very useful to do in other situations that aren't just about conflict either. They can be situations that are about, maybe you're just overwhelmed about a stressful situation. So you could go and do the same exercise if you're having a hard time deciding what step to take next, or if you're just overwhelmed one day and you just need to sit down and release the rage. What is it that I'm overwhelmed about? Just get it all out there, step back, look at the facts, and then, ask yourself those questions as well. So, take some time with this too. After you're all done, take some time to reflect on these things about your own healing. Like, you might dig up deeper things that you didn't know were there. There might be underlying issues or trauma. And so that's important to uncover and process those in a later time, maybe with a therapist, or there's all kinds of different ways that you can process those kinds of things. But sometimes it's just very important to be able to make that connection between the fact that, hey, you know what, this feeling that I'm feeling right now is just a surface level feeling, and I really need to dig deeper because there's probably something there behind it. I'd say 99% of the time that's the case, that there is something behind it. So be sure to give yourself the compassion that you need at that moment too, because the other thing to realize is that you're probably not going to get it from your spouse, or if there's whoever the conflict is with, if you're talking about a conflict. So give that to yourself. So, you can just say, you're feeling unloved right now. It's okay. You are loved. Tell yourself you are loved. And the more you repeat that to yourself, the more you'll start to feel it. And be sure to do that for yourself, because at that time you may not get it from the person that you're wanting it from. So the most important person that it comes from is you. So this process is not easy. You might have realized that. Hopefully you see that it's not easy, and it doesn't fix everything right away. It's going to take repetition, and it's going to take rewiring, because all of these habits and these thought patterns, they're wired into your head, and your central nervous system reacts just like that before you even know it. Sometimes it's so instantaneous that it's subconscious and you don't realize what's really underneath everything. So it's going to take doing this over and over and over again so that these things can start to get rewired and start to become more natural thoughts for you. Over time, your thought patterns, they're going to change. So they're going to rewire and get a lot better. You're going to catch yourself in a secondary emotion and you're going to go, oh, this is just anger. Like I said before, like, oh man, this isn't anger. This is actually something coming up from when I was a kid. Okay, pause, time out, let me step back and sit down and process it, before it all goes haywire, before I yell at someone. So that is it. That is my tool. Once you start to do this and you really get good at identifying what's happening and where something is coming from, I can't tell you the amount of stress release that happens, and the amount of security and confidence and things that you'll find inside that help you in everyday situations. It just takes doing it over and over again. So I really hope that this is helpful for you. I wanted to share that if you did find this helpful, and if you are a mom entrepreneur, you know what it's like to experience that stress of everyday living. There's everybody wanting something from you all the time. And you don't always necessarily have time to work through your emotions and process them like I just showed you. And so maybe you don't even know how. Maybe you don't even know like what you should do to do this. Maybe something like this like sounds really good, but when you're actually in the moment, you freeze up and you're like, what do I do? You're so overtaken by your emotions that you can't walk away and go through this process. So it is so important as a mom entrepreneur to take care of your mental health. And it's really important that you are living a healthy life, both mentally and physically. And that is really hard to do on your own. Trust me, I have tried to do it. I tried for many, many, many years. I am very introverted. Sometimes it might not seem like it, but I need my alone time and I need my space. And I used to think for the longest time, like, I need to do this alone. I need to do my business alone. I'm the only one that can do what I need to do. So I'm not going to, look for other people. I don't need other people to help me. I just need to do it all on my own because I can do it better than anyone else can. Maybe that resonates with you a little bit. But I can tell you that it's so much easier to do it with other people. It's so much easier to grow and be the person that you want to be when you have people around you supporting you and holding you accountable. And so that's why supporting you, having accountability, having a group and someone to mentor you and show you how to do these things is so important. So I have a program coming up. It's called Ascend, and it is starting on April 16th, which is next week. I can't believe it already. I would love for you to join us. This is going to be a group of powerful women. It's mom entrepreneurs who are excited to pursue their passion. They're already pursuing their passions. The women that have signed up, we have some amazing women. I just cannot wait to introduce some of these women to you because I am so excited. They're such a powerful group of women, and together we are going to push ourselves to just really work hard and accomplish our dreams and work through the stress and hold each other accountable to doing what we said we were going to do. So if that sounds like something that you need in your life, even if you are not a mom entrepreneur, I've had a lot of people ask me, this program sounds really cool, but I'm not a mom entrepreneur. I don't know that I can really contribute in that respect. It doesn't matter. We are not talking a lot about business. There's going to be a few things here and there that we will talk about business, but there's also a lot of things that apply to work. They apply to jobs. They also apply to stay-at-home moms too, but a majority of this program has nothing to do with business. So, I would love for you to jump on a call, whether you are a mom entrepreneur or not. I would love to jump on a call with you and talk about it and see if it's the right thing for you to join. This is something that this is a framework that I have been working on for many years. And I learned the framework, and now I have adapted it and adjusted it for women entrepreneurs. And I'm so excited to get this out to the world because there's just so many people that need it. I was one of them. I needed it. I found it. And now I'm ready to share it with people. So if you enjoyed this video, first of all, there is a link in the description to jump on a call to get more information about the program that starts April 16th. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to share it so that you can be part of this movement with me, where we are going to create powerful, strong women entrepreneurs who want to reclaim their passion and their purpose in life. And we can support each other and help lift each other up. So please share it so that more people can see that message. And I hopefully will see you on a call to talk about if this program is right for you. And if not right now, maybe sometime in the future. Thank you so much for listening. This got a lot longer than I intended it to be. But let me know if you have any questions, and we will talk soon. Thanks.